evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are and whatever time of day it is. I'm so sorry for your wait. I thought we had gone live. We were talking to ourselves. We had no idea that we had not gone live yet. So thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Melody McAllister, and if this is your first time joining us or you join us every chance you get, I want to thank you. You can usually catch us every Wednesday night, but we're not usually on a Saturday night, but thank goodness we are tonight. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can catch the replay on these same channels. I want to give a big shout out to the Teacher Goals Connected School communities and Thrive and Edu community, and thank you for tuning in. If you are an educator watching, first of all, I want to thank you for what you're doing. You are doing an amazing job. And we'd like to give away some books tonight, so please, please, please talk with us. And now I'd like to introduce author, educator, and publisher, and my very, very good friend, Amanda Fox, who I just think is so incredibly creative and brilliant. Her book, Teaching Land, A Teacher's Survival Guide to the Classroom Apocalypse, was written and released in 2019, but has never been more appropriate. If you remember Harry Wong's First Days of School, it's a lot like that, but it's more emphasis on relationships with students and families and awesome tech ideas that you can implement immediately. And it's also pretty funny and takes you through a journey where other educators share their trial and errors to find ways that work in engaging students. So if you are feeling like a zombie today, you're in good company. Stick around and listen. We are also giving away book bundles, so please stick around and talk with us because we want to choose you. Amanda, it's not a trick. It's a treat to have you here with me again tonight.
How
are
you? You're not tricking me, and we are live.
We are live. Tell us about your background.
That was such a mean trick.
I did not mean to do that. Hey, Farzine.
Well, now that we're live, it's showtime. So
yes. Wait, Beetlejuice.
And here I am. And, just like the characters in the house who were haunting it would talk to themselves and everything, that's kind of what we were doing. So now that we have an audience, homage back to my childhood. This is my Halloween costume this year. The green wig also goes with any, zombie attire as well. And speaking of zombies, Teaching Land and Zombie a Design Thinker are two of my books that were published in 2019. Teaching Land is a parody off of Zombieland. I have a extreme love for the undead and the culture of or the pop culture phenomenon of zombies. And what I decided to do is, or actually it was 2017 that I was at an ISTE meeting, and it was a board meeting talking about the Young Educator Network and young members, trying to get in young members. And I'm like, well, publish books for them. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know, like a fun poppy, parody of zombie, like survival rules. And it was, day of the, what was the original working title? Night of the Living Luddites or something, non-techie. Yeah. And then the more we started talking about it, Mary Ellen Weeks, who is my co-author, we were discussing Zombieland. I was like, man, what if we did Teaching Land? And then all the rules in Zombieland, we created a teacher survival guide for new teachers and experienced teachers in the classroom. And thus Teaching Land was born. The fun twist came when Dave Burgess, I was actually where was I? I was in Manila. I was keynoting in Manila, and Dave Burgess messaged me out of the blue, and he's like, "Hey, your friend Brett Salakis has told me that you're working on this fun zombie title," and I was like, "Yeah, my friend Mary Ellen and I were writing this book," and he's like, "Well, you should pitch it to us," and then it was exciting because a year prior, I never thought that I would be undertaking writing a book and that I would have two people that wanted to publish it. So in the end, we went with ISTE because we love Dave. ISTE's awesome too. If you have not been to an ISTE conference, you're missing out. We talk about being a legend in your own right in the book. So I know I am legend. Yes.
I was going to say that's where we met. You remember writing this to me?
I do. We did. We met in Philly.
We met at ISTE. Heck yes, we did.
And we've been besties ever since.
It's crazy.
Yeah, just the connection. So Again, whether you're a first-year teacher or an experienced teacher, there is a monster tech chart with over 80 different tools aligned by pedagogical strategy, and it's not about the tech. It's that's the vehicle driving the strategy at the time, and we even catalog them on whether it's an app or if it's a byte. We call it apps or bytes. It's being a website. And also, we categorize it by age group, whether if it's appropriate for littles, middles, or high. So a lot of great information there. And also, it came out in 2019. And one of the things that I like to joke about is that it was written before its time. Like, it really should have came out last year and during the pandemic, because it, in a very tongue-in-cheek way, pokes fun at the education system in the beginning. That we lay the groundwork and ground zero or chapter zero for the virus that has plagued the education system. And in doing that, Tim Childers and I wrote the chapter zero. And he was very insightful, having taught for 30 plus years, going back and talking about a nation at risk and how a nation at risk had created a high stakes environment. And then, No Child Left Behind with high stakes testing, with no funding, and then Race to the Top with funding that also brought in accountability on teachers' shoulders and just a lot more, I guess, data, making it a lot more of a data-driven field. So
when you're talking, it's making me go back into my early years of education and all the nightmares of all of these different things that you're talking about, and just how it really just ramped up the anxiety for teachers in the field who'd been teaching. I was a new teacher when No Child Left Behind came out, when they were first implementing it. And I remember talking with veteran teachers and how you don't pit teachers against each other. So like when Race for the Top came out, like it just, so it is scary. So I'm glad we're dressed up. It's a little freaky. We're talking about this in October. This is scary stuff. Like,
it is scary stuff.
It's not easy. Yes.
It's
not. How
not.
do we even do it? Teachers are amazing.
Love you guys. Exactly. And teachers are the cure. They are the remedy for this virus that plagues the education system. Because at the end of the day, it's the relationships that we build with students, with our colleagues, with those parents. And it's our pedagogy is an art. So all these standards and policies give us the how, or the why and the what, or the what. We've got to figure out our why and then how we teach. That is the art of education, and that's what we went to school.
So true,
and
it's true. And I love your book. I sent it to my baby cousin who is a first-year teacher. I sent both your books, Teaching Land and also Zombie, a Design Thinker. We're going to talk about Zombie, a Design Thinker in a little bit, but I am so impressed with how you are like putting an emphasis on relationships with parents and students, but also with other educators. And then you have such an emphasis on like educators sharing their stories of trial and error, because nobody gets it right the first time. And I have to say to you also, just the brilliance of your writing, the way that you were like, okay, you don't have to be a zombie lover. I am not a zombie lover. I've really got an education in zombie, but she puts a key for you. So at the beginning of the book, there is a key about all these zombie things, so you don't have to be lost.
True.
But so oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, each chapter we picked a zombie film or a zombie series, and what I did was I found the metaphor that's common within the show and what's common within education, and I painted a scenario that and explained it, and then kind of unpacked it for the reader. So with Romero, he changed the archetype of a zombie. He is the one, like, if you think of a zombie, you're going to think of the sluggish walk and the ghoulish green skin. So Romero single-handedly changed the zombie archetype. And if you look at his movies, they're usually a commentary on society. They're not really about the zombies. It's about society and the relationships. Right. And that's the common thread that I found in education. And we poke fun at parent archetypes and teacher archetypes, but we set up that these very two-dimensional like a helicopter parent or a Pinterest queen or king. They're very two-dimensional impressions. And sometimes when we meet someone, we absorb that 2D impression that we get, and we forget that, as humans, we've got depth, we've got dimension. And after we kind of lay out the different archetypes that you'll meet, or that you might even be, you might go through all of these
Right.
archetypes throughout your career, that that we should really dig deeper into our colleagues and remember that,
Mm.
a Luddite, which is a non-tech using teacher that, will have a file cabinet of all these great plans, for the last 20 years, but an egg tech hipster can have a lot of overlap, and they can be that dynamic duo that you wouldn't have thought, would work so well together as a team. And I've been part of that duo. My first year of teaching, I went back to my alma mater and I taught 7th grade literature, and I taught with my 6th grade teacher. She taught me. And,
What?
yes,
She
I
was your
did.
sixth grade teacher?
I did.
Didn't say
And
that in the book.
I did. And, she's the one that, would share her lesson plans, which I was thankful for, because as a first-year teacher, just learning new systems and everything, um, but as I started to get the hang of things, I felt a little stifled because these were, you know, worksheets and stuff that she'd been using for years, and I wanted to use
Wait,
iPad.
stop.
Yes.
Stop for a second. Was she using things that you remembered when she was your teacher?
No, because I had her for math when she taught me.
Okay.
But, I felt stifled, and I didn't wanna hurt her feelings, so I didn't say anything. And I waited
Mm.
till, gosh, it was January or February. I waited to say something. And then that's when the magic between us really happened as co-teachers, is, I got to bring what I was good at to the table, and she made space for me to do that. And, so what I want to impart to first-year teachers is that mentorship is a two-way street. You have ideas to give as well. It's not just you taking on a
Mm.
mentor. And I think that's important to know that, you're fresh out of college with new ideas. You might be a little more techie, or you might be versed in a certain area, but you definitely have knowledge to impart as well as receive. So,
I love that. Oh my gosh, I loved when you wrote about that and totally agree. Well, and when I was reading it, it just really made me think about my first years of teaching. And there were some times in my first year where I had veteran teachers that I worked with that weren't very welcoming, to be honest. They were not, they did. I was told when I was in college, make sure that you really look out for your veteran teachers and ask them. You don't want to act like you know everything. And that's what I tried to do. But some of my veteran teacher friends were not happy to help. But then I had a mentor teacher, and even though we didn't teach all the same subjects, she saved my life. Like, and she's still one of my closest friends. So Jenna, if you're watching, thank you. Like, I still love her. She's a leader in education. So I absolutely loved that you talked about this, and when you said that it goes both ways, that is just so empowering and something that needs to be explored. So thank you for saying that.
oh, no problem. Right across the hall from me, Tiffany Hersey, she was our tech innovation coach. And man, like she really gave me strength to, like, I guess, feel like I had stuff that was worthy of sharing. And,
Mhm.
Tracy Robinson, like, I did this QR code scavenger hunt when cell phones were banned, and I had one teacher, "You're gonna get in trouble for that." And then I'm like, "This is a stupid ban." And here we are 10 years later, I'm in the front of the classroom instead of in the seat, and cell phones are still banned. I got in-school suspension for possession of cell phone my junior year. Didn't have it turned
That's
on. It was in my
crazy.
backpack. Yeah, and there was a snitch in my class. But, yeah, but that
You know
snitch
what?
made me miss homecoming. I missed homecoming week.
Snitches, you know what happens with snitches? You know what they get? They get stitches.
That's not how no, I'm teasing.
That is so terrible. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I love talking with you. You just make me want to giggle and have so much fun. And that it would be so you went back to your alma mater, you were like working in the same school system, the same and it is weird because you did get suspended and now you're trying to use cell phones. And I remember the shift. So I started teaching just a few years before you did. You're a little bit younger than me. And I also remember the shift of like absolutely no cell phones to oh my goodness, let's embrace this. It's a part of our lives, and you know, let's just make it a part of our teaching. So
Mhm.
it's cool that you were able to find that in here. Um, how keep telling us about your journey. I keep interrupting. I apologize.
Oh, no, no, no. Well, I would differentiate by who had a phone. Not all kids had a phone, and I would like we would
It's
group
true.
them up, and they did the scavenger hunt. I'm like, "All right, who has a phone?" And they'd raise their hand. I'm like, "All right, you guys are gonna group, and we're gonna do the scavenger hunt." And this is, and then I was able to check out iPads by the end of the year, and now I guess BYOD is still a huge thing in some areas, and there's just so much technological inequity too in education. So
Hmm.
when you put in bans like that, it can really prevent you from leveraging all the resources that your kids have access to, and trying to create these experiences for them within the buildings. And I know this is a topic where that everyone's talking about is the tech access and equity, and there's no good solutions to it yet. I'm fortunate to work at a school now. I teach U.S. history, and we're 2 to 1. Our students, like, if they don't have a computer at home, they can tell us, and we'll send one to keep at home as well. So they have one at school.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I'm at a alternative high school, so these are kids that are not it's just not your average school, there's
Hmm.
they chose to be there. It's Phoenix, and it's just such a fantastic place to work. The culture that's been built there is amazing. Every just I mean, it's like the island of misfit toys. It's like all of us have this story of how we came there, and why we're there. Teachers, kids, and we're just all trying to create a curriculum and a culture and environment that all kids can succeed in. So
Right. I love that. And there was so much love for you this last week with people in your district and in your school that were just like couldn't believe that they had a celebrity
oh
author
gosh,
in their midst. And
I am
that was
not a
so
celebrity.
amazing.
I'm
Yes,
no,
girl, you
no,
are.
no, no, no. I don't
In
like
my
the
book, you
term.
are.
I don't like
I
the term
know.
celebrity or edu-celebrity or
It's
edu-celeb or
okay. It's okay if you're not calling yourself that, we can call it and you can still get by with it. So that's cool. Tell us a little bit about so when I put remedy, we're going to talk about your remedy resources and survival rules, but remedy is actually oh my gosh, what is that word? It's an acronym.
yes.
Tell us all
Education,
about that.
we love our acronyms.
We
And,
do.
I'm pretty sure just about every DBC book has one. So, yeah, so so I think one of the first conversations with Dave was like, "Well, what's gonna be your acronym?" And I was like, "Oh, shoot, I need an acronym." So, I thought long and hard about it, and, I think chapter 6 was the last chapter that got chapter 6 and chapter 10. When through the writing process, you don't always write your chapters in order. And what might be
Right.
chapter 3 ends up being chapter 1 because that's where the opening should be. So chapter 6, I think we had started compiling all the resources, but Remedy like came toward the end. So it stands for reach, engage, make, evaluate, demystify, and yearn. So you have to reach students where they're at. Like what and we're tech heavy, so our tech tools are categorized by these letters. And how do you reach your students? How do you reach your parents? Like how
Hmm.
do you reach them where they're at? How do you reach them outside of the building? How do you reach them? Period. Any tools that you can use to reach. Engage is how do you engage them with the content? What are your hooks? Like what things do you use? What strategies and tricks do you have? Not, in this case, tricks are good. What tricks do you have that treat your students to an engaging experience? See what I did there?
Look at that trick or treat. Ooh, you I like you. I like how you work.
Yeah. And I have plenty of puns in my book. They're killer. So
Yes,
make
you
sure you
do.
check them out. Yeah. So then there's make. So and in our survival rules, they kind of align with our remedy model. Make is what are you making what curriculum are you making and creating? And then where are you bringing your students in? Because the best curriculum isn't canned. We actually have jars, like Leading Learning, a jar room for students to come in. But the best curriculum gives choice, voice and choice, and pace and path. It gives students the opportunity to become self-autonomous learners, and it pushes that responsibility of learning onto the student, where you're not sitting there spoon feeding them. So they need to show
Right.
what they know. And then
Mhm.
evaluate. Like, evaluation's important. You have formative before summative. So what are you doing? And we break down the different types of assessment in the book for teachers who aren't sure. We cover like ipsative assessment, which is important in film class, because you have students make a film and then you have them make another, and you measure their growth between what they've made. Like, oh, look, you've
Right.
come so far here. You've shot it, like a stage production
Yes.
here, but you have multiple angles here. So just different types of assessments, formatives, capstone projects, and stuff like that. We really broke those down in our chapter 28 Days Later, when
Yes.
28
I
days
actually
later.
knew that one. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, now I know something here.
So 28 days later is all about assessment, and we touch on digital badging, we touch on all kinds of things, and then we have demystification. Those are your LMSs, those are your design thinking processes, and using those helps students transfer that learning process over into other content areas. So when they can transfer it, and we're talking about depth of knowledge here. Eric Francis, if you guys don't know, he's a fantastic like
Mhm.
depth of knowledge advocate, and he's got a great book coming out too. So if you really want to go into assessment and using action verbs and getting into DOK, check him out. But just making sure that that students are able to transfer that and become learners in any content area, and take that process of finding information, showing what they know, and even assessing themselves, and transferring that
Mhm.
into other aspects of their life. And then why is yearn? What how are you going to end with that's going to leave them yearning for the next project? Like, how do you send off your denouement of your project and your introduction of your next one? Like, how do you keep them on their toes and keep them like, so yeah, that's been a
Yeah.
little bit.
I love it. And then you have shared some resources, and I'm dropping them as you talk. You shared Wakelet resources. So if if you want to check these Wakelet resources out, they are free that Amanda is sharing. So this is for reaching students. She has one for engaging students. And I am going to drop the last one that
The
you are
make.
sharing, making. And we just had Global Makers Day. So if you are into making, I'm going to drop that right now.
We did.
I,
And we have, if you're into making, actually 10 survival themed design challenges that are no tech, low tech in our book.
nice.
And I've posted them on our website too, teachinglandthebook.com. Dave says don't give
Okay.
everything away. Shh, don't tell him I put most of them on there. So in rule number 11 in Teaching Land is Ziploc bags. Or in Zombieland, it's Ziploc bags. It didn't quite make the cut of
Mhm.
official rules, but in Teaching Land it did. It's zombie zips. And we have these little door hangers, and they say come inside, and the little zombie zips. And it says our classroom is using Teaching Land Rule 11 zombie zips. Step inside and see what we are making, designing. And on the website, on our blog, we actually have an entire blog with all the materials needed in a parent letter. And parents can sponsor individual projects, buy the materials, and send in the Ziploc bags. And you can have them put together. You can have students take it at home, showcase their learning, or you can do it in centers or groups in your classroom. So,
Okay, so we kind of sped ahead. So if we're talking about resources,
yeah.
and then you're talking about zombie zips. And so in your book, you've got and she shares the websites and everything, and definitely in the Wakelets, you need to check these out. She's got these because if you're not super into tech, there you go. Very good. Thank you. She's got all of these different templates that you can use to have these like ready to go activities with your students. Talk about making, you can change them into STEM or STEAM activities. There's like
Mhm.
a ton of them. And that's really why I sent it to my baby cousin, because as a new teacher, you're learning how to, acclimate yourself to the climate and all the demands, but you don't have to think of everything. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You and Mary Ellen did it and you shared it, and I'm just thankful for that. Do you want to talk more about, like, we kind of skipped ahead a little bit. Do you want to talk about more of that before we do our author read, or do you want to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
are you ready for the author?
So I'm just gonna give an example of one of the design challenges. My favorite is the, bird beak tweets. So our idea is in a classroom apocalypse that we have carrier pigeons, hence our blog is called The Pigeon Post, but we have carrier pigeons. So we, kind of adapt the design challenge where you have to build different birds' beaks, and you have to
That's awesome.
we roll up and they look at you look at adaptation as part of the standards,
Yeah.
and they have to build these different beaks out of different materials and then tie it back to like adaptation and to shape the purpose and function of a bird beak. But there's a challenge where they have to use the different beaks and they have to see which one's more efficient, and they take post-it notes that are rolled like scrolls and they have to move them from one place to the next. And we do like a minute to win it with the activity. It's one of the favorites. We typically do that at conferences and in workshops, and teachers even have fun. They're just like watching that timer go down, moving these post-its. So
That is like blood pumping fun right there. Yes, yes. I
I don't
love
know.
that you shared all of that. That is so wonderful. Are you ready to read us a little bit of your book?
Sure, I would love to. Okay. I'm gonna start with my intro to the book. So
Mm.
in Zombieland, their nicknames are based on where they're located. So I'm Savannah. So Amanda Fox, aka Savannah. I love music. And when I say I love music, I mean I love all genres. To me, music is magic. It inspires, it motivates, it provides solace in melancholic melodies. It summons thoughts of home, growing up, and Spanish moss laden streets. Music breaks the constraints of this world and sends me time traveling with the help of a few harmonious notes strung together in perfect accord. It opens portals to other worlds long faded. Because of this magic, I have leveraged music in my classroom to reach students, engage them with content, build rapport, and explore deeper meanings. The true beauty of music is that it connects people. I have my own private radio that is permanently on shuffle, my mind the DJ who drops the needle on life's playlist. I also have a
Mm.
literal playlist, my zombie writing music playlist, that I listen to while writing this book. It inspires me when my mind fails to summon words or exude the creativity needed to push on. Fox Dance Party of One, unless you count my DJ, Alexa. I call her computer now, and she is pretty rad. My kids called onto Alexa. They've called onto computer now. I've got to get it to where it only responds to my voice. But
Mm.
when it comes to my music collection, I like to think of myself as eclectic, but not a real connoisseur. I mean, how can I take my music library seriously when I have Hannah Montana and What Hit Wonders like What Does the Fox Say? I'm going to skip down a little bit, but I kind of go into music and film and set up the stage for how I got to be writing this book. Melodies become woven into the fabric of our DNA. My fabric also happens to be didactic. A teacher's blood courses through me, and it's through that lens that I view life. By this point, and I kind of go through film, I talk about teaching film to middle schoolers and how films become time capsules meant to be poked and prodded, how they capture and hold histories of the generations and during the time they're made. So by this
Mhm.
point, you're probably wondering, where am I going with this? Because I digress a lot. I'm getting there. These two loves, music and film, along with my teacher lens, intersected to create the right conditions to write this book. It's been in the making since 2015. Really, since the first year I started teaching, when I was handed a copy of The First Days of School by Harry and Rosemary Wong. A lot of advice in their book is centered around classroom management and procedures for the first days of school. and relationships, but I feel team building and focusing on getting to know your students is a much more valuable use of a teacher's time. The world has changed, the classroom landscape has changed, and the way we teach must change with it. Yes,
Honey, it's changed even more since you penned those words.
I know, it's crazy. So I wanted to write a book that speaks to this generation of teachers, a book with edge, a book that calls out the unacceptable and brings about a paradigm shift, a book that guides teachers to embody that paradigm shift, to become a catalyst that fans a spark into a flame, to build a legacy that I can plant and see. One of my favorite film genres to teach is the horror genre. It provides a rich context for nonlinear writing, themes, insight into human fear and psychology, and how the body processes all of this scientifically, looking at the amygdala and the brain, of course. And while teaching students about soundtracks, zombiance, lighting, and the many subgenres, antagonists, and fears that go into crafting a horror story, I looked around at the current state of education, and I played my fun scenario game in my head, and it went something like this. If the teaching profession were a horror movie, what subgenre would it be? It was a no-brainer. A zombie one. The puns are plentiful. Yeah. And so my research of the undead began, and as I wove it together with education, the needle of metaphor, the pages of this book on teaching and zombies grew. While investigating the parallels between zombie films and the teaching profession, I discovered one common denominator: the extreme need for hope in a time that breeds hopelessness. And if this past year has not been that, I don't know what has. It has been the hardest year that I've had to go through as an educator. Just the many hats that we wore. And many times in my career, I've felt immobilized by hopelessness, especially my beginning years when you're getting into the groove and you're learning procedures and schools and rules and FERPA and COPA and all of these things that matter.
Right.
It would take a hold on me, and infection would spread and infect my mindset and actions. I would become overwhelmed by the weight of endless tasks and the dichotomy between being a teacher and being human, because we're held to a different standard. It is a dark time for our profession as accountability trumps trust. Our very safety is threatened as we are asked to don weapons. The shooting in Florida had just happened when I was writing this. While
now, people like teachers are armed as well.
Yeah, so that
so
was the
much that has happened. Yeah.
So while rage raises and summers off are questioned, morale can plummet if we let politics get the best of us. But unlike the victims of an apocalypse, we chose this role not for money, not out of pride, and not out of martyrdom, though some have sacrificed their lives at the hands of the unjust. We went into teaching to change the world for the better. Oh my God, I'm taking these off. Sorry, guys, I have to lose these fake lashes. They're tickling me, and I'll probably lose the wig before the end of the show too. So we went into teaching to change the world for the better and to breed hope, to make passion and kindness the viral currency of this generation. In that spirit, I hope this book, with its rules, the speculative historical context on how we got here, and all the content within, proves to be a beacon of light, provides you with practical strategies, and becomes a fun guide for survival. I hope the words I have planted bloom in the hearts of the weary, and that you hope along with me for a better world.
So. Oh my goodness. I love that. I'm so glad you chose that part. That was so good.
Thank you. Oh. Yeah. So writing, I don't know. I've always loved writing, but I never thought I'd pen an education book, which is, here I am.
I know, and what I love about you is that you are so brilliant. Like the fact that you're able to take all of that and share it as an educator is remarkable, because you are knowledgeable about so much outside of just the, like the school doors. You have a talent in filmmaking and writing, and it was just so cool to see you put that all together in this. And I think it's encouraging for other teachers to realize that your talents are as unique as they are to you. Embracing those and sharing them in the classroom is what makes you an amazing teacher, just like it makes you amazing. And I'm always glad to see what you're doing next. If you check out your YouTube, you are doing always like amazing things. You're tying in what's happening in the real world. So tell us, what's next for you?
Well, I'm going to share my screen. if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ignore
And I
ignore the 20 million tabs that I have open. That's just how I roll.
you and me both, honey.
So next, I have Marker Town, and that we're under a cover redo at the moment. Actually, our graphic designer and layout person Arlene Soto, who is phenomenal, is going through and adding the text on all of the pages and just brushing up the images and polishing them. And I want to give a shout out to all of those who named a marker. This image will be going in the book, and it'll be going out this week. Uh,
Ooh.
Miss Eileen Winokur. Is that
Yes,
how do you say her?
my
Yeah,
friend
so
Eileen, Dr. Eileen. Yes.
yes. Yeah, so, she actually named Randy Bandy after her sister, and, I'm excited to be sending out,
Oh.
this week with little note cards thanking for the naming of the markers. So, yeah, Marker Town is up next, and then, I started Meta Ink Publishing. I've been working with Quiver Vision to augment the book, and Quiver Vision, I'm the director of education. I moonlight in the evenings as that. I'm excited about all the activity plans that we have that are coming out, and 2.0 dashboard is about to drop. So there's a whole new look to Quiver. And then with Meta Ink, they're augmenting the content in Marker Town. But with Meta Ink, I've also got another book that's in illustrations right now called Monsters Have Manners, written by Jeff Kubiak, which the name
Yay.
probably
Our
sounds familiar.
friend.
Yeah, so that'll be out at the
Yes.
beginning of next year, and then, my friend Ryan Reed and I are working on
Ooh.
something of epic proportions, and then there's an SDG, kind of like teacher guide that is, being
Uh-huh.
compiled at the moment as well, so sustainable development goals. We're, doing 17 different AR lessons that go with it, so
Wow, that's incredible. And I want to say, Tammy, thank you for watching. Tammy is amazing. We are going to send you a book, Tammy. She says your writing shows true passion for teaching and enrichment for students to grow. This is yours, Tammy.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Awesome.
teachers are the real artists. Like
Mm-hmm.
I talk about writing and drawing and filmmaking, but teaching is an art too. That art is what really comes across and makes students love learning. So in that right,
Yes.
their own artist. So
Yes. Okay. Now we've gone over our time by quite a bit, but this always happens when I talk with you, and it's okay because you're my dear friend, and I don't mind talking with you. Tell us a little bit more about Zombie, a design thinker, before we say goodbye.
okay, so Zombie, a Design Thinker is a kid's book, and it takes students through a rhyme of the design thinking process. And it kind of connects to our Zombie Zips in Teaching Land. So you can partner this book. It's a student book that partners, and it really gets students making. Zip the Zombie is a zombie who helps students learn human-centered design, and as they go through the design thinking and they become empathic, he turns into a real boy. It's like a Pinocchio version.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
it's great to have in your classroom in October if you wanna launch those fun survival design challenges.
It really is. And in Global Maker Day, you can go to globalmakerday.com and you can find out like what happened this last week, and you can do it anytime. It doesn't have to be just because you missed the day doesn't mean you have to miss it forever. Tammy, thank you so much for joining. And she was excited. I don't know if you saw the message that she's excited about this, but
Did
I want to say that I have actually shared this book with several people, and they are so like they love this book so much with their kids. Parents love it, teachers love it. This is a great book, and it's been loved on in my house, as you can see. So check this out. And I did drop the link. I'm pretty sure I dropped the link. Yes. And we are going to say goodbye. But before we say goodbye, do you have any last words that you want to share?
We've gotta do karaoke. We gotta send them out in song, right? Yeah, yeah. Hold on.
I wish that we had planned this a little bit better.
Let's see.
I can barely put. Oh,
What's going on, Delia? Are you all right?
Hold on. This is the Broadway version. That's how I roll.
I don't know what just happened. I meant to say, mi se de, mi se de, mi se de, mi se de, mi se de.
Delia?
Hold on, here we go. Come on, you wanna banana till the morning come. You can say day. I'm not gonna sing. I actually can't sing. But you guys have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you for joining us, Amanda. It's always a pleasure. I'm glad. And congratulations on these books. Congratulations on Markertown. I can't wait. I am waiting. I am like always checking when the updates for Markertown. I can't wait to have it. So congratulations on all you do. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Whether you're joining us live or in the replay, Tammy, congratulations. You're going to get some free books. And teachers, we appreciate all that you're doing. And check out this book. Amanda, we will see you later. I'm always trying to put the outro like, Amanda's actually like you don't even know the influence that you've had on me, Amanda, trying to make everything so here's my outro if I can get it right today.
All right.
Bye everybody.
Yeah, bye.